Sassy and smart with laughter and angst, Teenage Bounty Hunters comes to Netflix and has some dynamic leads. But does it deliver anything worthwhile? Blair and Sterling are fraternal twins living in Georgia. They're very rich and they go to an ultra-religious private school. One night they accidentally stop a bail jumper and assist a bail bondsman, Bowser. There are a lot of laughs to be had in this series. I found myself laughing out loud multiple times throughout the show. I especially like that the show is snarky and it makes fun of all kinds of stereotypes. Some of it is overt and some of it does it very subtly, which I found to be even more funny when they did it that way. The chemistry between the twins is awesome. They work well together and they have great timing, especially because sometimes they have to talk simultaneously over each other in response to one person. And sometimes their stories match, sometimes they're totally different. And it may sound like, well, it was kind of hard to understand, or, well, if they're both talking at the exact same time, how are you really knowing what they're saying? But it does come through. The dialogue is there and it makes it even more funny. I've heard it said that twins have a special connection, that they can look at each other and communicate without actually saying any words, that they know what each other is thinking, and that way it allows them to talk without anybody around knowing what's going on. Well, the show uses that type of twin connection also, and the way they do it I really liked, because they would zoom in on each of the girls' faces, and they would use a fisheye lens, it looks like. So even the girl's face is not totally in focus. Some of it's stretched out just a little bit, and all around the background is totally blurred, and it would just go back and forth between the two, and as they're rapid fire talking about what is in their head and communicating to the other, all the while showing us decisions that they're about to make or the feelings that they really have. I like that they did it enough to be useful and fun, but they didn't overuse it so it didn't become tired. Blair and Sterling are also very intelligent, and I like that the show didn't try to dumb them down for comedy's sake. I mean, they each have their duh moments, but so do I, and so does everybody else. So you can't fault a character for having a moment like that. But on the whole, they're resourceful, smart, witty, and probably most importantly, they're fun to watch together on the screen. For the show to work, obviously the chemistry between the sisters has to be good. I mean, we have to believe it and we have to want to watch them. But also the connection with the bounty hunter has to work also, because they team up with him, and if that is dull or dry or just doesn't click, then the whole show falls apart, because part of the premise is based on their connection with this bounty hunter. Bowser is the bounty hunter, and he is played by Kadeem Hardison. And I don't remember the last time I saw him in anything, but I certainly remember watching him in a different world. My mind was blown when I found out Bowser was Dwayne Wayne. He's so good in this. His level of sarcasm and dry wit is spot on. I mean, you feel that he is jaded and he's not going to put up with crap because he's just seen too much or dealt with too much and he's just tired of it. But also he has a soft spot and he has this caring heart which gets to shine through in certain areas. The supporting cast in this is a lot of fun too. I mean, we have schoolmates, parents, relatives, teachers. They all help to drive the story, but they also serve to poke fun at different stereotypes. And these relationships also help to deliver some very awkward and funny dialogue. The first half of this season is a lot of going after bail jumpers, and we do get some development. But the second half of the show really does then focus a lot more on the relationships between the sisters and those around them. And around episode 6 or 7, the show really began to feel a little soap opera-ish. And it's because they were focusing less on catching the bad guys and more on the drama that was ensuing between the characters. And it's not that this was bad. I think the show needed to go in this direction to give the story more depth, to give it actually some place to go, so that it didn't end up feeling just very episodic, like, you know, a TV template where every week after week, we know exactly what the formula for each episode is going to be. A is going to do this, and then the B is going to happen, and then C, and then D, the finale, and boom, we're on our way waiting till next week. And I like that the show didn't stick to that. Because the second half was focusing more on the relationships, I did find myself laughing less. And that's because the content was turning a little more serious. I mean, it wasn't all of a sudden just a deep drama. It just subtly changed the tone over each episode, but still all the while maintaining the spirit of what was going on. There were still funny moments. I'm not saying that, you know, all of a sudden there's a huge shift, 180, and now we're going in a completely different direction, because that's not true. We got to focus more on what is making these characters tick, and we're really then diving into some of the things that they're navigating through, and in turn that engages us more with who we're seeing. This show is a lot of fun, but I know it's not going to be for everybody. I mean, it pokes fun at a lot. It pokes fun at religion, status, relationships, education, and surprisingly, I found the teenage angst to be minimal. I mean, it is there, but I think you could almost put that label on any show or drama that is focusing on relationships, because there's going to be some of that tension throughout. And as we focus on those characters who are diving in and navigating their relationships, well, sure, you're going to get different feelings, and sometimes they're going to that's going to be the entire world, and the world is just dire and down because something isn't working for that person. But we don't get to sit in that other things happen, and the show moves along, and the story moves along and progresses in a really good way. There's also a mystery that is playing out throughout the entire show, and at times it is a little predictable, but that didn't hamper the excitement that I had and making me want to see more. There are 10 episodes in season 1, and each is a little under an hour, so it will be a time commitment if you do choose to sit and binge the entire thing. But honestly, I found it very easy to click next episode on Netflix because I was engaged, I was intrigued, and I wanted to know what was going to happen next. And it also just really helped that I was in love with all of the characters. I mean, their interactions, their chemistry, their timing, just all of it really worked. And they could make me laugh, and they could make me connect with them also. There is nudity, sex, a ton of sexual dialogue, a lot of profanity, and some violence. I give Teenage Bounty Hunters 4 out of 5 couches. Are there any good comedy series that you're watching lately? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.